Okay, so I wanted to go over this engineer bomb kit dual pistol build. It's been a lot of fun. I've been doing a lot of PvP with it lately. It's not something you'll ever see on any meta battle or anything like that. It has a lot of mobility, tons of condition stacking. When I first tried it out, it's a permutation of the wooden potatoes bomb build that he built, but it's just organized more around conditions as opposed to might stacking and instant hit damage like his is. So I wanted to make a quick video to show you guys what it was like, because there's plenty of videos of me playing it. It plays pretty well. So let's just take a look first of all at the gear. This is just the PvE gear. I'll show you the structured PvP stuff later. In this one, you get some benefit from critting. So I'm using a crit toughness condition build with a berserker rune. So this is the PvE stuff, right? So this is why we're trying to get to this condition damage number close to 1500 as we can. But in PvE, we're getting this 34% chance to crit. Now in structured PvP, that's not as important. We're going full-blown all conditions, because the structured PvP, we have to kind of get the damage on and get out really, really quickly. Now the build itself is exactly the same, so the specification is exactly the same. So it's firearms and explosives and inventions. And once you pick these, obviously these are always given for you, right? You don't pick these, but the ones you do pick are these here. So I'm going to go through those real quickly. In the firearms tree, you're getting this gain might where you inflict bleeding on a foe. So, you know, one of the things you're going to be doing in the bomb kit is inflicting bleeding almost immediately. So you're going to have this benefit you every time you do this. Now in PvP, you can also have a gain might on hit. Now gaining might is going to boost your condition damage. It, of course, will boost your power as well. So the moment you start doing anything, your number is going to start going up. So your condition damage number, although by default may look like it's only 1434, where most really strong condition builds start on 1500, the moment you cast your first bomb, which is this one here, the shrapnel grenade, it applies bleeding for 15.25 seconds. So basically just say 15 seconds. The damage number isn't high, but because it's so long, it's going to give you tons and tons of opportunity to stack and stack and build that up. So that's one thing right off the bat that you're going to benefit from, is taking this one. The second one's down here is this critical hits on foes within range threshold have a chance to grant Fury. Fury grants you ferocity. So this is going to increase your critical chance, increase your ferocity. The chance on critical hit when that happens is going to be a benefit to you. This one's a little trickier because the other two, this will give you increased condition damage for 9 seconds to nearby allies. So in PvP, that doesn't really benefit you, and if you're in an open world run around by yourself, that doesn't benefit you at all. So this is a little bit more on the selfish side. You have other utilities you can use that help a group. The last one down here is burning you inflict lasts longer, and your critical hits inflict burning. So you're going to be putting lots of bleeds on the targets and lots of burning. So if you crit with this, it's only going to put vulnerability on the target, which is going to increase the damage they take. It's going to put bleeding on the target, right off the bat. You're going to gain might from that. So before you've done any other move in the rotation, as soon as that's happened, you already boosted your damage without really doing anything extreme. So in PvE, having a little bit of crit is going to give this really decent little burn damage, and the duration across the board is increased. So if you look at the durations on these, 53% bleeding increase. You'll see in a minute in PvE, that's hilarious. You can actually drop this right here and have most of the things in the world besides some of the more epic veteran mobs. That's really, really nice, because you can drop your poison grenade down and then your shrapnel grenade, and those two dots by themselves will pretty much ruin most things, and you don't have to do anything else. You can move on to something else. Now this one's going to do poison for you, so your benefit from your condition damage is going to be increased by this might gain from doing the bleed first. So let's go over that one more time. So you're going to do things sometimes in a certain order. Even though this is a longer cooldown, if you do this first, when you think bleeding, that's going to boost the damage of every other type of condition that you're going to do. Okay, so that's really going to help. Now with the grenade kit, remember with the engineer, you know, even with this setup here, you can see there's no rifle, there's no other build, it's just two pistols, right? And you just have little chumpy runes on it, a crit chance rune and a bleeding duration. There's no secondary weapon. You don't even need it, because the engineer has a kit. This is the grenade kit here. They have a number of kits you can choose from. Some people use this flamethrower build. They can pick a flamethrower, and there's a bomb kit that no one ever uses. Rocket turrets, all kinds of stuff like that. The kit that I really, really like a lot is this grenade one. And the grenade one is interesting because you really need to play it with this option turned on down here. You'll see when I'm playing my elementalist, I don't do this because I'm area effect nuking a group of players. But in this one, because the radius is relatively small, I want to snap it to my moving target and be moving and not even look in the direction I'm throwing the grenades, which is a really, really key factor. You can do this. If you ever played the Saboteur and Rift, you'll see the gameplay is very similar to that. So this allows you to pick a target and it will snap to the target no matter what you do. Let me just give you an example of that real quick. Let's just use the silly prairie dog down here. So in this situation, if you're going to, say you're going to put this on him, right? Here's the, I've got my target, I'm looking the other way, right? It's still connected to him. So that's one thing about that snapping to target that's nice for area effect abilities. So let's say we're going to put this down here as a freeze grenade, right? When it's out of range and you don't have a target in range, you can still move it around. But once I get in range, it's going to snap. So I can be over here and out of range thinking, hey, I want to drop this down and maybe hit these, you know, this rock or this here. That's fine, fantastic. But if I want to hit this on him, as soon as it gets in range, pop. So you can see I've got it in front of me here, right? So I'm running over there in front of me and just going to pop them. So in PvP, that's huge. That makes a big difference. Now, if this was a huge, massive radius, I would probably manually place it because in large group fights on a node, like you see with my elementalists, I do the area effect abilities to put as many of the burning dots as possible on someone. In this situation, because these grenades have a travel time, you just look at this travel time here, right? There's a travel time to get there, so you really want to make sure that the thing hits, and you don't want to be running around thinking about, I want to put it, I know it has a travel time, I want it to lead the person. Too much thinking like that, it won't land in time. So the benefit of doing that snap target with the grenade build is the fact that getting those grenades on the target without having to do anything too tricky. You can just be running along like this and just throw the grenades. I didn't even have to look at the target. So the other elements of this really interesting about grenades is the, as I mentioned before, you have this poison grenade you can throw down. The poison grenade puts on another dot for you. So if you've done the bleed one first, which is really short cooldown, it's only 5 seconds. Put that down. This is a longer cooldown. Follow up with that. You got a pretty decent amount of damage going off on these targets, and it's area effect, right? But just looking at the damage here, I'm just going to run around and keep them from hitting me. Look over here and see the damage going off. This is decent bleed damage with just 3 or 4 stacks of bleeds. And if I need to snare them, I can send them as well to their snared and placed. I have not cast anything else. Okay, they're just this first initial bleed ticking away on these Doliacs. So that's the thing about that fire and forget kind of bomb gameplay that's really, really interesting. I need to, and it only comes up every 5 seconds. If I need to put it up again, it's really easy to reapply it. And of course you have other things you can do too, like, hey, let's put the poison bleed on it, we can leap away, get out of range, put the bomb bleed on it, etc., etc. Let's go through some of these other details, these things you're seeing, these health packs, these mines, and the other parts of the grenades that are really neat. So when you put down this first shrapnel grenade, and if you feel like throwing the poison grenade down too, you can do that. Your auto attack is kind of this basic bomb that just blows up, but it only implies vulnerability. The reason why you want to kind of spam that over and over and over is it's going to give you might stacking, which means that as the dots are ticking, the bleeds, the poison, later on you'll see there's flame with the weapon, the pistol set as well. That's going to increase the dot damage. So when you're running around doing the bombs, even if I just did this one, you're getting might stacking right down here. You see down here 5 stacks of might, etc., etc. You'll most of the time only be able to keep it around 5. You won't really be able to do it further than that. And this is a condition build. This is not a single target burst explosion build. I've tried it that way. It doesn't seem to work as well. There's other ways of playing Engineer that are more focused around Berserker or Marauder with high ferocity and high precision that do a lot better. This is all about bomb, bleed, poison, burning, immobilization, confusion, and blindness. And while that's all going off on someone, you're focusing on your movement, escape mechanics, keeping your health up, switching to pistol, interrupting someone, and then doing more and stacking more bleeds on them. So the other part of this build here is these 2 grenades in the middle here. This first one kind of looks like this. The second one looks like this. The second one is a little bit longer cooldown. It's an area effect chilled, so it's going to reduce people's recharge rate in PvP, and the movement decrease is really, really nice. It has a little vulnerability, so you're seeing vulnerabilities happening here. All these grenades are adding vulnerability. It's probably the only, every single thing on the bomb kit is going to stack vulnerability. So the more vulnerability added in a group fight, good lord, that's going to make a big difference. So let's just do a quick little rotation. Here's the frozen, here's the blindness, here's the poison, here's the shrapnel. And you can look up here underneath this enemy, he's got 12, 16 stacks of vulnerability fire, and he's dead already. And poison, just from, there's really only 2 major grenades that are doing damage, but all those other things are stacking so quickly. And even after you've done that once, everything comes back up really, really quickly. So even if you just stand still and don't even move, this thing is going to do tons of damage. and then the bleed ones come back up again, he's already dead. Now these are just mobs in the open world, so it's not really that big of a deal to fight them, but I have a video you can see me fighting champions and things like that. So the bomb kit, another thing that's very interesting about it is that you are not limited on switching back and forth between the bomb kit and the pistol like you would be normally. So let's just say start shooting the pistol, start doing some damage. You got a crit burn and you got bleed stacking, just the basic auto attack. You can switch your grenades, snare the object, snare the enemy, and switch back to pistol. So you're not really being locked out of a weapon switch because you aren't actually doing a weapon switch. So for example, if I had a rifle here, 2 pistols here, switching back and forth between them, it's going to be controlled by whatever the weapon switch timer is. In this situation, you could shoot a pistol move, switch to grenades, and switch back to pistol really, really quickly. So let's just do that real quick. Here's a pistol move, and then we'll put a grenade down. Put a grenade down, switch back to pistol, and put a burn on him. So we don't have, normally you wouldn't be able to do that. Let's see if we can do that even quicker this time. So we'll start with an auto swing with a pistol, we'll switch to a grenade, put a bleed down, switch back to pistol, then you go to interrupt. So you don't really have to worry about being locked out of your pistol. So if you've got something you need to do really quickly in PvP, you're like, oh wow, I really need to interrupt that person by using some of these abilities, which we'll talk about in a second. You don't have this situation where you're stuck in the weapon set that you're in before, because you can switch back before them like this, okay? So being able to switch back and forth between kits, and you could switch between kits just as quickly. So that's really, really, really nice. I don't think any other class in the game has a mechanic that allows you to do that. So let's talk about the pistols real quick, and then we'll go back to the build. The pistol also does some interesting things. It's a blend between dots and utility. The auto attack, you know, it's not a high damage number, but it's for applying bleed. So you're just shooting it regularly like this. It's a pretty decent range. It's just putting bleeds on the target, and if you crit, it'll put burning on it. So, but even just at that, just shooting and pew-pewing away, you're doing a decent amount of damage. In PvP, this is great because it's a great way to pop a guardian shield down. It's got decent range. This second part of the pistol that's really nice is this little channel ability, which puts a poison dot on something. So then you're shooting, and now you put fire, burning, and bleeding, and poison dot on something, and it's going to come. And I even put an additional burn I can put on there too, which is this blowtorch ability. So what you're going to find over here on the left, these purple numbers, all these different types of conditions. You have this one number that's going to drive all the damage of the condition numbers. They're just going to get higher and higher and higher. So it doesn't rely on single condition stacking like my elementalist build does, which is all fire, 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 and a little bit of bleed. This is going to have vulnerability stacking, poison stacking, bleeding stacking really quickly, your might's going up really, really quickly, increases your burning damage, and then poison stacking. So all those things together, very few classes are able to stack all those things very quickly. Another part of the pistol set besides this poison dart volley is this static shot, which causes the next outgoing attack to miss, and confusion. The confusion is actually pretty interesting. If the enemy uses a move, it will do a lot of damage. That's a pretty decent amount of damage. Now, even though your power is not the world's hugest amount of power, you're not 2400 or 2700 or something, it's still respectable damage. Another thing that's interesting is burning. You'll see in the PvP situations, a lot of time when I'm in pistol, if I've got someone like this, you'll see me do this blowtorch move, and you'll see me drop kick them like this, burn. Now that's putting a massive amount of burning on them, 2692, 2596, so that's like 5k right there. Now what am I doing when I do that? You'll see that when you have these abilities across here, the things that are here change what appears here. So if you have this engineering kit selected, which puts like a wrench in your hand, it changes this upper utility bar here. So if we put, let's say we put the flamethrower there. If you put the flamethrower there, it changes this to incendiary ammo. And these are little things with long cooldowns, 40 seconds for this one, 50 seconds for this one. They're like trinkets. 25 seconds for grenade barrage, but this one's 15 seconds. It's really, really short. So a lot of times in PvP I'll run this, which is an elixir. It gives you invulnerability. It will shrink you down like this. So you'll be invulnerable, you'll be running around small, and people get confused. They can't tell where you are. It only lasts a few seconds, but it will save your life. So the reason why I mention that is this rocket kick is 10 3/4 seconds of burning. It's only 2 stacks, 7,500 damage. And this one, right, this also adds 4 stacks of burning and does 11,277 damage with the minimum of 5,600. So let's just do that again on one of these Doliacs. So what I'll do is I'll shoot the blowtorch first, and I'm going to do the drop kick second. So it kind of looks like this. and not do anything else. But this one shot went off. So you can see the health on that thing is just dropped. It's just melting. So that's really, really nice. It works really great on downed opponents. In the big PvP fights, you're watching some of the PvP videos with all these bombs are going off, big group fight. You'll see me do things where I'll say this Mithril as a player. I'll leap to a player and start throwing my bombs down like this. I get in their face, I'll switch to the pistol, and I'll do the blowtorch and do the drop kick, and I'll leap and run away and leap away like this. And they're gonna die. They have so much on them. I was only in there for like 3 seconds to just drop the whole bomb on them, and there's nothing to be able to do about it. Another ability with this you can do with these utility bar things. This is Toss Elixir, which gives you regeneration and to help your allies. But most of the time, this grenade barrage is one you're going to throw in between. When I do this, it's going to throw an insta-cast grenade on this pink moa. It goes boom, and see all the vulnerability stacks that have already been applied. And of course, the last ability you have on the pistol tree is this on-demand glue snare. It's a little awkward to pull off in PvP, but it is very useful in PvE. It has because of the travel time of the projectile, but it's an area effect snare and immobilize. So it's the second half of mobilization, 2 seconds of snare. It's not a long time, but when people get hit by those things, their immediate reaction in PvP is to get out of it. And when someone's wasting time getting out of something, they're not doing damage. You're having to make them multitask. It's also a great way to slow someone down, so you can then switch quickly to the bomb and then throw this area effect chill down, which is another one that will hit them back to back. So you can force someone to do their area effect, get out of things, and then they start moving again, and then you snare them again. And then you actually can switch back to the pistol and start doing more damage to them. And you can actually move them down over time. So it's an interesting way to keep people confused as to what snare is on them now. They can be very frustrating for players to have that happen to them. And as I mentioned a moment ago, the glue shot has this a projectile flight time, kind of like the way this one right here does. The blowtorch, as I mentioned earlier, with the rocket kick and blowtorch is really short range. I'll give you an example here. Even though we're in the water, okay. If I was, let's just get him snared and we'll leap away. So we'll leap away over here. Now I can't do the blowtorch from here. It won't hit him. He's not close enough. So I would have to wait till he's closer. And the kick has a range on it as well. Let's go over this guy. I can show you about how far away it is. Usually about here. If you can see from the overhead view, this is about how far away you need to be to get these things to drop. So I'm going to do the blowtorch first and do the kick from this perspective. So blowtorch, and kick. So that hit him. So when you're PvPing, usually what you can do is the size of your character based on how far you have the camera zoomed in and out. I'm pretty close. I'm more of a shooter kind of a camera. It give you a sense like when you're about that close. Let's use this campfire for example. When you're about this close, that's close enough to get it to land because you leap forward when you do it. The blowtorch one, you stand still and launch it. So if you're going to do anything to make sure you really hit, you should probably do the drop kick first, followed up by the blowtorch, because the drop kick will make you travel. And when you're flying through the air doing the right foot heel kick, teep kick to the chest, it's going to automatically target the enemy and try to hit him wherever he's moving around. So we can do it. Let's do it like this, right? So we're running around. He's coming after me. Do the drop kick, and then you can do the pistol move. The pistol move will require you to be facing and aim in the front like this, whereas the drop kick move doesn't require you to be facing him at all. You can be turned this way, which is one thing about grenades, which is really interesting. So I've got this guy here targeting me behind me. I'm facing this way here. I can turn my camera this way. Watch this. So it turned me around automatically to hit him. I didn't have to worry about doing anything special. So when you're in a big confusing fight and you're throwing grenades and you're doing all this kind of stuff and you're not looking where your target is, that's a really great way to turn around all of a sudden and go boom, drop kick someone. It's also a great way to put some really nasty burning damage on someone in a down state to counteract their heal and prevent them from doing anything. And plus it's frustrating for them to be dying to conditions while you're doing that. So if this other one here, F8, you've probably, if you've watched any of the other PvP streams, you'll see how I use that a lot. This one here is basically going to throw down what you call medical kits. They're like health packs on a shooter. In this situation, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 medical kits. I believe they heal for like 1,500 each. Let's get damaged and see how much we can get hurt by. And the other good thing about grenades is they don't auto-attack. Let's get a couple of these guys because we have no problems with blowing up multiple dudes. And they're still sitting on the ground over here. You see over there? Come on, Mowers, you can do it. Cap take a little bit of damage. So you can leap over these things and run over them and get health back. 1300, 1300, 1300, 1300. Another thing you'll notice is that a lot of times these are going off every time I crit for free around me. There's one right here. See this one right here? This is part of a tactic that I'll show you. Alright, so it's going back to the build. When you get down here, let's see, which one is it? This is this one, this is this one. This is an auto defense bomb. This one's interesting. So let's first go through these and then we'll come back to the healing kits. So in the explosives tree, you're trying to make sure that these grenades travel fast. You have to have this one. You can't really pick this one. It's, you know, the higher Fury crit chance would be great. You're not really crit oriented. It's kind of an extra bonus if you want it, but you really need the radius increase and you need the velocity. And by the velocity, it means how far, how fast and quickly they're going to get to the target, especially in PvP. Got to take that. This one here, you have flexibility. I've tried it all different ways. I've actually found this one works the best. Every time I throw a bomb, and I haven't thrown one in a while, I have this buff that's called explosive entrance. So your first attack explodes, dealing extra damage to nearby enemies, and it gives me a barrier. And just like all the other grenades, it's going to give vulnerability, and it hits a bunch of targets. So you're running around with this buff on yourself until you use it. Now you're not using it by clicking anything, it's just going to go off. So you can see down here where this thing goes off, for the first time it does damage. Let's do it with this guy here. There, it disappeared, and now we're not doing that damage anymore, right? So what does that mean, and how does that work? Let's get rid of him real quick. Okay, good. So you get out of combat, fight's over, and then that will come back in a few seconds. That's called explosive. See, it's back already. Explosive entrance. So your first attack explodes and deals damage. It does this. Now this tactic here, if you want to call it that, this specialization, these three here are all oriented around that passive effect. So one of them is, hey, if you critically hit, you launch a missile at your target. After enough missiles have been fired, an orbital strike is called it instead. I found that one to be really weird. You have to get 4 of these, you have to crit 4 times, and then this orbital strike will come down. So this aim-assisted rocket means that every now and then, if you happen to crit, you have, down here you'll see an additional damage that comes down that says this aim-assisted rocket. And it's kind of hard to get to go off all the time because you're not really doing that. You're not really focusing on it. You're more condition-oriented. So I tried that for a while. I didn't really find it to be that interesting. I found what to be much better was, you see over here in the combat log, you grant yourself barrier of 1500 using explosive entrance. So that's, you know, a decent amount of health. That's like 5 to 8% of your health being boosted. That's this bottom one. So every time explosive entrance goes off, meaning the moment I attack anyone in combat, I'm giving myself a barrier, and I gain vitality based on a percentage of my power. That's why having the power at a somewhat respectable rate makes a big difference. And since all these grenades initially blow up before they start applying conditions, that benefits their upfront damage as well. Even though the upfront damage isn't some crazy berserker type damage, it's all damage. It's like the first tick of a dot if you think of it. So let's go back to that again. The middle choice is interesting. I tried playing with this. I tried playing this build with like maybe a 50% crit rate, but I was giving up too much condition damage. This one means explosions grant stacking ferocity when they hit. It would be neat. Maximum stacks is 10. It didn't really make any difference. I wasn't killing anyone any faster. I wasn't killing any enemies any faster. But this I found made a great difference. That barrier was absorbing hit and interrupt, a nasty dot. I've had it. I've been fighting one person and killed that person and had the barrier, and start fighting another person, and that person takes down the barrier, and then I attack them and the barrier goes back up. So it's basically like 3k of barrier being applied to me. Now in PvP, they've nerfed it a little bit because they're always changing things in structured PvP, but in PvE that's fantastic, because if you're doing area effect attacks and you killed enemy 1, enemy 2, enemy 3, then you're running up to the next enemy, that's going to stay up all the time. This last one here, I found this one's fantastic. If you do get a crit, you're going to add another 1,000 of damage, a bleed, and cripple. So that's really, really useful. Even though in the back of your mind you're thinking, I should use freeze grenade to, you know, chill my target or slow them down, or I should shoot this glue shot to get a snare. Well, they're really short, right? 2 seconds for this one, only like 2 seconds for this one. That's not enough to kite someone around for 15 seconds, right? But as long as you're doing, as long as you're hitting them with you have a 33% chance, doesn't require a crit, 33% chance to cripple them. So it's a third of the time they're going to get crippled anyway. Let's do it this way. Be sure you have the right target, right? So let's put the poison on him. So all this junk up here, see this right here, he's crippled. So that's one thing that's really nice. This stuff going off, he's crippled. And let's do it again, let's bomb him again. Not crippled, crippled. Look up here at the combat line, crippled, he's still crippled. Not crippled, crippled. It's almost 50%. Even just fighting that little mob there. Let's go out here where there's not as much water underneath the ground so you can see the ground targeting happening as well. I believe there's some mobs up here we can mess with. And we'll kill some other stuff later on that's much harder. I'm just using this for demonstration purposes. So that cripple is nice. So that means, you know, when you have that kind of a cripple happening all the time, like very, very reliable considering how quickly you're bombing and blowing something up. It doesn't mean you need to open up with a cripple. One thing I was doing when I first started playing this build, I was like, okay, let me open up with a cripple like this, and then I'll start doing this bomb. That'll give me a chance to get this bomb on. I'm thinking like a World of Warcraft player, right? I'm thinking I got to get them snared first, and then I'll put my long cooldowns on them and do all that kind of stuff. But in this situation, as long as you're bombing away, as long as you're continuously doing damage, there's a 33% chance you're going to get crippled passively, no matter what you're doing. Now, the detail of that you have to remember is that's only for explosions. That's not going to work for the pistol. Okay, so if you're running around the pistol mode and you're thinking about putting the little flame trick where you're going to go blowtorch and then drum kick like this on somebody, you're not going to get that free snare. So be sure to remember that. This last tree is interesting. When I looked at Wooden Potatoes' PvE build from over a year ago, he uses Scrapper here. And Scrapper is interesting. Whoop, there's a crowd. We don't want to deal with them. The Scrapper is interesting, but there's some things about this base version I found to work a lot better. And the number one thing in there is this mecha legs, your movement rate. That was just so useful. Now we could take care of these guys. Let's go ahead and fight them. After we get done being punted around everywhere. Oh good, we got a... this is going to turn into a PvP, PvE video, right? So we got to be smart here. Got a lot of enemies on screen. Let's take a character one guy at a time. You got to keep moving because you don't want the Hydra to start blowing you up all the time. And you can use your mobility to get out of range if you need to. I don't know what this guy's doing here. Looks like they're fighting each other. That's fine with me. And remember these health picks are there. You can packs are there. You can pick those up. And we'll switch to the Hydra in a minute. And none of these are veterans, so we should be okay. That's a lot of mess, isn't it? And I haven't talked about it yet, but you can always do this. You can, when this guy gets done bombing, you throw this elite down and get the toolkit down, which a lot of enemies will attack and start bombing it. And they'll just start treating it as if it's another enemy attack. Let's get on the Hydra some. What's left? Forged guy. And then we just have to let Hydra heads left over. Okay, so we'll just blow them up real quick. Now, another thing that's kind of interesting is that you have all these tools, and based upon how the fight's going, you have so many things you can do to change the tide of the battle. There's nothing wrong, as you saw in that fight, just running away a little bit, come back, resetting, make sure cooldown's ready to go. But the cooldowns are really, really short. Let's go down here a little bit, and then we'll finish talking about the rest of this build. Okay, down here should be good, down in this oasis. Alright, cool. So let's go back over these here. You saw me use this turret supply crate. That's one of the elites. It's a pretty long cooldown, but it's a lot better than some of these other ones. This one here, remember when we change any of these things on the elite bars, we're going to change this ability here as well. So if you go to this elite mortar kit, it turns into a mortar kit. It changes this on my keyboard using the F8 ability. Or you change these, it turns to nothing. I found that this one's the best. The reason why I like it is in PvP, when people see a bunch of turrets down, they hate it. They know there's a rocket turret in there. They know there's a healing turret in there. They know there's a net turret in there. They know you're as an engineer around. Some people can't stand engineers. They don't know whether it's a photonic build engineer. It rattles people. It's also quite effective. In PvE, a lot of the enemies think it's a pet, so they will start going there and beating on the turret. And it's very funny because you could have, like that last situation there, there's like 12 things on screen are attacking me at once. I drop all the turrets down, 3 or 4 of them are tied up fighting the turrets for a few minutes while I take care of the other ones. That's really, really useful. And let's see here. We talked about the med pack drop, that's fine. We didn't talk about this one. This one I don't use very much. It's just coming along for free with this one. Like this grenade one is causing this one. This one here is coming from the rocket boots, which I need to talk about. And this last one's coming from the elixir here. And this one here is coming from toss elixir, which is a heal, which is really short duration, it's only 25 seconds. And it causes the bomb to go off when around you. So let's go back to the build and then we'll wrap this up. Okay, so in the inventions, like I was saying before, the reason why I really like this is the mechalex, where all the mobs jumped us. Now this one's really designed to be, it's like bomb oriented and a lot of healing sharing oriented. But this one here you're seeing set a time charge that creates a cloud of smoke blinding nearby foes. So when I'm disabled, which means stunned, dazed, knockback, pulled, all the taunted, feared, and in PvP you're constantly being feared by warlocks. You get knocked down every now and then, you get floated in the air, knocked back, you get dazed, and all kinds of things are happening to you. So every time this happens, right, this is going to put a charge down on the ground that if anyone steps on it, and believe me, in PvP, people always step on these things. No one tries to avoid these bombs. They don't even have a red circle around them. Their next attack is going to miss. I've had so many situations where I've had someone fear me, and some melee train tries to opportunistically jump on me, and they step on this bomb, and they go, raw, and they blew their 15-second cooldown biggest attack and didn't even hit, and I'm not even doing anything. So that's really, really useful. This here is fantastic. It reduces all the immobilization effects on you. There used to be one in the warrior tree that was the same way. This one's brilliant. Immobilize, cripple, chill, skill recharge, all those things are reduced in duration. So that's really, really useful. And of course, the condition durations on me are reduced by 33%, and I get 25% movement speed. If only the Revenant had that. That's brilliant. And lastly, this last one here is 3 interesting choices. I've tried all 3. I found this one to work the best. When I am attacking, and if I crit, it automatically creates a proximity mine and a med kit, which means, as you saw all these little fights here, every time I'm critting, every time I'm doing stuff, there's all these little med kits just randomly dropping down. I'm not pressing anything or doing anything. There's one there. I'm not doing anything. There's another one. And listen, I don't really help. This is a condition build. Even just at that, you can see this is a little mine here, the red spark. This one mid kit here, and you walk over it, you'll heal yourself up. That's like 1,300. That's a 3,000 point heal lying on the ground for doing nothing but just rando critting while you're playing. So the reason why I think that works really, really well is a majority of the build is about going on the target, get all the dots bleeding, burning, and poison on them. You know, get them confusion and blindness on them so the next attack doesn't hit. You get them snared, disengage, get ready to leap away with the rocket boots, which is a 2-charge ability. You know, use 1 charge the first time, and it just takes like 2 seconds, and you can use the second charge right away. That's a great way to get away from someone in fights. And by the time you've done all that, if you're moving around crazy when you're rocket booting in there, you can't take any damage. That means it's like having 2 extra dodge rolls, and you've got someone totally covered up with conditions, and if they Condi cleanse it, you could just reapply them almost immediately. You have stuff at good range. You could be in fights where you're fighting someone. You're like, even if you just wanted to use the pistol and fight people and not even use any special abilities at all, the pistol will put 2 conditions on the target. It'll put bleeds and burns on there and invulnerability, and even be dropping little heal kits. So even if you have like nothing going on at all, but just want to shoot someone in a PvP fight, you can just drop the poison on someone. Even just that is good condition damage in a PvP situation. So that's why I found this build to be so fun, because you have so many little tools at your disposal. The ability to switch back and forth between the 2 pools like this. Look at me, I'm in combat, I'm switching between pistols and bombs, pistols and bombs, pistols and bombs, just the moment I want to. Really, really fun. People don't really understand what's happening because it's not a build that everyone else plays. They don't really know what to do about it. They know something's happening to them, they just don't know why. They get ready to do something to you, get ready to jump on you, get ready to fight you, and then boom, you're gone. And then you go ahead and put a burn on them, and you're snaring them, and then you get in their face, and you're drop kicking them in the face like a ninja. And before they realize it, they're dead, and you haven't taken any damage. And if you have taken damage, you can drop this kit down here, and just go ahead and heal yourself up all the way, and run off and go fight the next guy. So you're just this crazy bombardier ninja spaz. It's a lot of fun. So check out the videos I posted that show me playing this build and tell me what you think and see if there's any tweaks to this layout that you like. It'd be neat to see if anyone else who has more experience at playing the bomb build, did they ever have success with a non-condition version, because I've been having great success with this condition version. And are you willing to give up mecha legs to pick a different trait line here? I just cannot bring myself to put Scrapper in here because the movement speed is just way too slow to Scrapper. All right, that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll talk to you later.